I was interested in how the human voice can activate a place, and also that means that I can put the piece in various different locations. So this is the second time this piece has been made. The first time it was inside of a building, and now this outside of a building is obviously very different. And I think this location is in many ways more appropriate for the piece in terms of its meaning than the first time I did it, which was a long corridor, because one of the metaphors is the river, or an idea of a river or a long path. So the walkway has got this sort of S shape, and in the poem that's being sung, there's a reference to rocks and to the river and to water flowing, and so kind of visually that works with the space that it's in. I actually do the visual representation is in the site. When the poem gets up, there will be text you can read, which will be a visual point. But the sinuous pathway, the rocks, and the trees, I'm suggesting that this is the river, and these are the rocks on the banks of the river, and that you're hearing through the voices the water coursing along that space. So I'm just taking what's there and making it my visual data for the piece. One of the things about the poem is saying, I wish I was a stone. And I wish I was a stone in the middle of a river and I never moved. And that I didn't have to choose life. I didn't have to become something. And so it's about this lament about having to being a changeable entity, to cry out that everything is going to change and everything will pass and I won't be able to stay the same forever. So it sort of rejects that notion of the soul. It rejects that notion that we are fixed in time and space and then we will be who we are forever, but instead that we are constantly evolving and changing, and that we have a responsibility to choose that. The poem is 4 stanzas that were, of course, written in German. Erin just knows all these languages. She's pretty amazing. She translated it into German, sort of literally, and then I edited her translation into English so that we weren't sort of copying the translation that was there in the first place. So that's one of the things that happens, is that in her singing, we sort of coached each other through it. So she sings alternately in a Western style, and then she sings in a kind of Indian style with a high intonated voice, and she sings in a kind of Arabic, Middle Eastern style, like a call to prayer or something like that. And then all of those are mixed together. All 4 tracks are played independently of one another, so they are not all the same length. So all 4 of them are never synced. So the texture of the sound is different. It's like standing next to a river and you hear the river. It's the same sound, yet it's never the same. So it's that idea of creating a kind of metaphorical river, using the poem as the sort of element of water in the space as you walk through it. So I don't think that I think that sound can create an anchor for things that are there in the space that you can attach your eyes to. I think a lot of people at first, when they're walking by, they may try to look for the speakers or where the sound's coming from. I think that that's sort of natural, but the sound is not the speaker and vice versa. So just because the speaker is there doesn't mean it's the visual thing you should be looking at. I think other people use the visuality as a focus point so that one can create a point of entry for the sound. I'm sort of going at it the other way. I'm using the sound to become the point of entry for the environment around it.